Hi everyone, Video James here, recording. I know it's been a while since I released my last video. I believe it was a reaction video to some of the results of the Copa America, the Gold Cup, to AFCON, and by the time of recording this video, in 2.5 hours, Tunisia will play against Nigeria for the third place match, to which I will give the game to Nigeria in my prediction. And for the final, we'll be having Senegal versus Algeria. And as much as I love Senegal, I think this year is Algeria's year with how dominant they've been, with how impressively dominant they've been. I think Algeria is going to win. But that's not what I'm here. Why I'm here is because the AFC second round qualifiers for the World Cup in 2022, as well as the AFC Asian Cup in, I believe it's 2023, the draw happened. And while I could not watch the draw because it was not available in the United States, I do have the groups right in front of me. And there are a few groups where we might be surprised to see some results, and I'm just going to run through them now quickly before I make any predictions early on for the World Cup qualifiers, second round in Asia, the games will begin in September, just as a frame of reference. So, Group A, we have the People's Republic of China, Syria, the Philippines, the Maldives, and Guam, who beat Bhutan in order to advance out of the first round. Then in Group B, there is Australia, Jordan, Chinese Taipei, Taiwan for some of us, Kuwait, and Nepal. In Group C, we have Iran, Iraq, Bahrain, Hong Kong, and Cambodia, who beat Pakistan in round 1 in order to move on. In Group D, we have Saudi Arabia, Uzbekistan, Palestine, Yemen, and Singapore. A little bit of a brutal matchup for when Yemen and Saudi Arabia face off. I'm sure they were not happy with this draw. Group E, we have Bangladesh. I cannot remember if they played in the first round or not. Then we have Oman. We have India, Afghanistan, and Qatar, who will qualify regardless, but are going to be playing for both the Asian Cup and as well as to qualify as an Asian team for the World Cup without using their debutante status to aid them. In Group F, we have Japan, Kyrgyzstan, or the Kyrgyz Republic, as they'd like to be known now, Tajikistan, Myanmar, and Mongolia, who is making their second round debut after beating Brunei Darussalam in order to get to this point. In Group G, we have the United Arab Emirates, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, who's making their return. In Group H, we have South Korea, Lebanon, North Korea, Turkmenistan, and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, who, despite losing to Macau in their first leg of the first round, were given a bye because Macau, due to the Easter bombings in this year, did not wish to travel to Sri Lanka, so Sri Lanka were given a 3-0 forfeit win, which allowed them to move on. So, without taking up too much time, let's talk about who I think is going to the rankings of the teams. Some of them are going to go the ways of the seeds to me. Some of them are going to be a little bit more complicated. In Group A, I'd be surprised if China does not top this group, but Syria, also a team that has proven that they are capable of taking on the best of the best. Regardless, China in first, Syria second, and literally this one goes exactly the way of the seeds. The Philippines third, as well as, the Philippines third, Maldives fourth, and Guam fifth. I really have no confidence in the Maldives or Guam. I do think the Maldives are just better than Guam. If anything, the only change I would see is Guam perhaps beating the Maldives a couple times. Maybe throwing out a draw against the Philippines if they're very lucky. But I don't have much hope for the Islanders, who most would have expected to be in the OFC but decided to join the AFC. In Group B, this one's a bit tougher. Australia, the Socceroos, I do predict that they're going to go to the World Cup. So I'd have to put them in first or second. I will put them in first, and you'd think I'd let the team that beat them in the group stages at the Asian Cup this year in second, Jordan. But no, I'm putting Jordan third. Instead, I'm putting Kuwait second. Why? Kuwait was disqualified from Asian Cup qualification as well as World Cup qualification for 2018 and 2019. And so because of their absence, because of their temporary ban as a footballing organization by FIFA, the Kuwaiti national team has dropped very low in the rankings for being inactive for a couple of years. But Kuwait, always one of the better teams, despite that rank. I think Kuwait is going to come in second, then Jordan third, Chinese Taipei fourth, and Nepal fifth. One thing that you have to understand about the Asian Confederation, the Asian Football Confederation, is that it's usually pretty cut and dry as to what team's going to win until you hit the Asian Cup, and that's when you hit the quarterfinals when you can actually, say, okay, so here are the surprises. You do get, sorry for the buzzing. You do get surprises every once in a while, but for the most part, the game itself, or the competitions itself usually goes the way of the seeds. So to repeat, Australia first, Kuwait second, Jordan third, Chinese Taipei fourth, Nepal fifth. In Group C, Iran is the obvious winner. If you disagree, what football are you watching? Iran, another team that I predict will go on to the World Cup. The United States is seemingly not going to war with them, thankfully. And so I see no reason for them to, get pushed down by any of these teams except for Iraq. Iraq could manage a win, could manage a draw. But Iran, to me, is the dominant team of this group. Being the best team in Asia, you shouldn't be surprised. They're going to go through. Iraq second. Bahrain third, who gave us a surprising showing at the Asian Cup. And despite their football players not being consistent, perhaps because they keep getting arrested for trying to fight for freedom of speech, Bahrain's still third. Because who are they going to lose to? Hong Kong or Cambodia? I don't have much confidence in Hong Kong. I will say I do believe the Khmer people will beat out Hong Kong and go into fourth as a little bit of a surprise, and then Hong Kong fifth. Shout out to my good friend since childhood, Servuth, and my neighbors Satna and Sota. Cambodia is going to get better. Group D, this one. I have no confidence in Saudi Arabia. Great players, great team. I do have confidence in them, just not confident enough that I'll see them win. Why? Because I think Uzbekistan's going to come in first. Uzbekistan in first, Saudi Arabia second, Palestine third, though that could change. Yemen, you'd have to push me real hard to think that Yemen is going to lose to Singapore, and then Singapore in last. So, Group E, Qatar first. Qatar is still a great team. They did an impressive showing at the Copa America. One of my Colombian friends would disagree with me. He said, "Oh, they were terrible." And I'm sitting there going, you almost got points taken off by these guys. They're not that bad. They're not CONMEBOL level. But they're not bad. They're pretty good. I need to shave. But Qatar, a definite first for me. In second, I'm going to give it to India. India got a bad run in the Asian Cup this year. They were this close to moving on to the round of 16, and they blew it. They had a great win against Thailand, and then blew it against Bahrain, and then, of course, blew it to the hosts, the United Arab Emirates. And they're in a tough spot, but I'm sure they're going to pull through. This isn't a very difficult group. Bangladesh, Oman, Afghanistan, and Qatar. They'll probably lose to Qatar, most definitely, actually. But Oman, despite being Gulf champions, the most recent Gulf champions, Afghanistan, despite, God bless them, they're somehow always getting better. It's gradient. It's a gradient change. And then Bangladesh, who, well, if you think they're going to beat India, well, I'm not too sure about that. But we shall see. Regardless, Bangladesh, so Qatar, India, then I'll put Oman, Bangladesh, and then Afghanistan. In Group F, Japan first, Kyrgyzstan second, Tajikistan third, what is Myanmar's rank? 138. Myanmar's rank is 138 to Mongolia's 187. It's a big enough divide, but it's still the bottom 100. I'll give it to Myanmar for this one. And then Mongolia last. Group G, the Emirates, who had a great showing in the Asian Cup, definite first place. Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, all these Southeast Asian powerhouses, and then the Indies. And Indonesia dropped low, fourth. Keep in mind, this is the fourth most populated nation in the world, Indonesia. And they were disqualified and banned as an organization for a few years, so they've dropped considerably in the rankings. And it's surprising that they were put into such a tough group. This is really the group of death. This is really the fight for second place. I would give this to... So obviously UAE in first. The very dominant Vietnam in second. No. I'm reconsidering. No. Vietnam in second. But keep in mind, I'm looking at this for the first time. I haven't had to. I'm sorry, my phone keeps buzzing. A lot of people want to talk to me, apparently. Vietnam second, Thailand third, Malaysia fourth. No, Indonesia fourth, Malaysia fifth. Despite Malaysia destroying Timor-Leste, which nobody was surprised by. I don't think that pushes them to be better than any of these teams, three of which were in the Asian Cup. All three of which advanced to the knockout stages. One that went to the quarterfinals, one that went to the semifinals, and lost to the eventual winner. And then Indonesia, which just has more people, and just in general likely a stronger team, that's just been on the sidelines for a little while. I'm putting Indonesia 4th, Malaysia 5th. Group H, finally Group H. Now there is a threat to the top 2 seeded teams, South Korea and Lebanon here. And it's not North Korea. As we all saw during the Asian Cup, they are not impressive unless Kim Jong-un decides we need to funnel money into our football program. I doubt that they're going to be making headlines during qualifiers. I think Turkmenistan got a very bad rep for the Asian Cup this year. For me, in my personal opinion, they did very well. They despite all odds, they did well. They could have done better, of course, but coming in last, losing to Oman, Uzbekistan, and Japan, that was a really tough group. Yet they were able to hold their own. There were many moments where we thought that they were going to come out on top, or not on top, but come out over another team. They got knocked down, but they're getting back up. Mark my words. South Korea first. Naturally, I think they're going to go to the World Cup. I will say Lebanon in second, Turkmenistan in third, North Korea fourth, and if you lose to Sri Lanka, what the hell is wrong with you? They're one of the worst ranked teams in the world. I believe they're the second worst ranked team in Asia. They're ranked 201st right now. And I think the only one that's ranked lower is Pakistan, which is in 205th. So you do the math there. I might be wrong. Another country might be the lowest ranked team in Asia. But I think that's how it's going to go. So just as a reminder, the 4 best runner-ups across all groups will advance to the third round and Asian Cup. So not all of the second-place teams will advance to World Cup the third round of World Cup qualifiers, but 4 of them will. They will also advance to the Asian Cup. They will also qualify for the Asian Cup. And then the remaining 4 runners-up will advance to a qualifying third round for the Asian Cup. The 4 best fourth-place teams across all groups will advance to the Asian Cup qualifying third round, along with the Philippines. The remaining 4 fourth-place teams will advance to the Asian Cup qualifying playoff round. And I don't really know what's going on with the 5th-place team. I think the 4 best are going to qualify for the playoff round. I might be wrong. It's hard to tell with these. But I won't get into Asian Cup details. I'll just name the 4 nations that I think are going to go to third rounds and the Asian Cups. The 4 nations that I believe that are automatically going to move on to the third round and qualify for the Asian Cup are as follows. Those nations are Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, and Kuwait. Those are the 4 nations I'm calling. Which means the Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D, funnily enough, one right after the other, will have the 4 teams that qualify to the 3rd round. Which means that my predictions of India, Kyrgyzstan, Vietnam, and Lebanon will all have to go to the Asian Cup qualifying 3rd round, which means that they will miss out on the World Cup. Don't get me wrong, I'm not belittling the skills of Lebanon or Vietnam or Kyrgyzstan or India in any way, shape, or form. I really wanted to say Lebanon would probably continue into World Cup qualifying. The problem is that they're in a very tough group with Turkmenistan, and North Korea can still pull off a surprise, believe it or not, even though Lebanon seemed to hand them their supper during the Asian Cup. Vietnam, as great as their team is, they are in the group of death. This group is just the toughest of the tough. Like, it's the toughest matchups. Kyrgyzstan, it does have a lot of opportunities. Man, now I'm rethinking a little bit. I'd like to make an edit. Kuwait will not be that 4 best runner-up teams. Kyrgyzstan will be in that 4 best. Because Kyrgyzstan has a much easier group with Tajikistan, Myanmar, and Mongolia. So long as they can hold their own with Japan, I don't see them really having too much trouble. Whereas Kuwait does have to deal with a strong Jordanian side and Chinese Taipei. And at the end of the day, Nepal has won before. They can win again, maybe. Syria has an easier time with the Maldives and Guam. They do have a threat in the Philippines, but the Philippines were also not too dangerous as far as the Asian Cup goes. Watching their games, they were struggling. Syria, meanwhile, despite coming in last in their group, they were playing with 3 very competitive teams. There were moments where people thought they were going to draw with Australia. They could draw with Jordan. They could draw with Palestine or win against Palestine, win against Jordan. And they just have an easier time in their group. Iraq, just obviously, come on, these guys are amazing. Taking on Bahrain, Hong Kong, and Cambodia shouldn't be too much of a hassle for them. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, still an Arab powerhouse, a West Asian powerhouse. Despite me thinking that they'll lose to Uzbekistan, Palestine, Yemen, and Singapore are not threats. Palestine a little bit more so than Yemen and Singapore, but that's just obvious due to their seeding. So you just do the math on that part. As well as, so I also predicted that India would not move on. They do have a tougher group with the Gulf champions of Oman, the Asian champions of Qatar. Bangladesh is a nation that definitely wants to beat India no matter what. And Afghanistan, like I was saying earlier, despite not being the best of teams, they're getting better incrementally every year. Hence why they keep getting awards for most improved football association. There will... I gotta check something. But yeah, those are my predictions. If you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. If you're supporting a particular team, if you disagree with my choices, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, subscribe, comment, do as you please. Again, I'm sorry for the big drought in videos. I was actually releasing a round of 16 predictions for AFCON, but the video never ended up uploading, and I was wondering why I wasn't getting any comments. But yeah, it's good to be back. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.